Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started since it's noon and I don't want to keep everybody very long. Thank you for coming today to our Tutor Pro's information session. The purpose of the session is just for me to present to you a little bit of information about our tutoring service at Eton and what it's going to look like this summer and beyond. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing about any type of presentation that we do through our Center for Teaching and Learning, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in at any time. Don't feel that you have to wait until the end. I like when people have questions and share with each other. So like I said, please feel free to just jump in, okay?
Okay.
So, first of all, Barbara, I don't know, are you familiar with Eton? Are you an Eton family? Are you outside of Eton?
We're a new family. We just put in an application last week.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I always start with our mission. I like to go kind of over the mission and how Tutor Pros fits within the mission. Obviously, if you've put in an application, you know that Eton Academy is a school for students who learn a little bit differently. And through the Academy, what we really try to do is just build those essential skills and confidence that foster lifelong success, as I'm sure you are well aware if you're going through the admissions process. Our tutoring service is part of our Center for Teaching and Learning. So you have Eton Academy, and then within Eton is our center. What the center is really based, what our mission is and what we try to do is focus on providing the support outside of Eton's walls. So even if a student is not an Eton Academy student, they can still come through our Tutor Pro service to receive support. In addition, we also provide support to other parents, other teachers, other schools to empower them with tools and knowledge to foster school and life success. So our center, as I said, actually extends our reach into the community. It's very much a community-based center. There are 4 main buckets that our center really focuses on. The first being teacher training and coaching. So one of the things that we do is that we go into schools and we provide training, coaching, sometimes long-term training and coaching. We can be with schools anywhere from 1 to 3 years. We also provide, as I just said, our Tutor Pro service through the CTL, which is what we'll talk more about today. We conduct testing, and we also do some consulting. So we consult with parents, we consult with teachers, again, with our mission to just support the very best that we can, everyone in the community, to ensure that students are getting what they truly need in order to be successful. I'm going to apologize. My neighbor is having their lawn cut, so if you can hear the lawnmower behind me, I apologize. It should be gone very soon, but they literally just started cutting the lawn when I started this presentation, so I apologize if you hear the lawnmower disappear in a minute. Good. I'm glad to hear that. So, Tutor Pros, what is our mission? Really, what we are doing is providing a highly specialized tutoring service to students in grades 1 through adult. What we try to do is focus on not only improving academic achievement or learning skill achievement, but also helping students to build confidence in skills that they need, not just in school, but in life, something that they can take with them. The one thing about Tutor Pros and the importance of Tutor Pros at this very moment that we're in right now is that I've had many parents call me and say, I'm nervous. I'm really, really nervous about what school has looked like from March until now for my student. And I know that June through August, they're not in school, whether that was remote or whatever type of virtual school they were in. And they're reaching out and saying, can this help? I have to say, it's a one-on-one service. So it's a tutor that is matched with a student. They work only together. It is not group tutoring. It's one-on-one and very individualized so that every student has goals that they are working toward achieving in their Tutor Pro sessions. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So as I said, it is a highly personalized service, one-on-one tutoring in grades 1 through college. I put college, but I have to say, we've had adults come through our Tutor Pro service. So we serve a wide range of ages. What our service looks like are typically 60-minute sessions that are offered 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I'll talk a little bit more about what that session looks like, but it's very nice because there's a lot of flexibility in terms of scheduling. We have kids that, especially in the summer, we had some students that start tutoring between 6:30 and 7 in summers past because they had camp that they had to go to. We also have had students that go later in the day, but we have, like I said, a wide variety of openings. All of our Tutor Pros that work with our students are Eton trained teachers. So there's two parts to this. Number one, they are all educators, whether they are educators at Eton Academy or they're educators in other schools or school districts throughout Southeast Michigan. But the piece that's really, I think, the most important is that they have to go through some pretty extensive training before they can even work with any of our Tutor Pro students. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the training in a moment, but we have quite a large staff of tutors that are available. And again, they have to go through training, continuous training, if they're going to be a part of our Tutor Pro staff. Again, just to review that tutoring does focus on student improvement in all subject areas. So we have students that come to us. I would say the vast majority would come with specialized focus in language arts, so reading, writing, and math. That being said, we also have students that come and it's more of a global focus where it's, my student really needs help with just homework completion or organization, time and material management, all of the learning skills that are necessary for students to have in order to be successful in school. That's very common as well. The other thing that our Tutor Pro service also focuses on is test preparation. We've had, we've seen quite an increase prior to COVID of students reaching out to us to help them prepare for SAT, ACT, high school entrance exams, any type of standardized testing, just to work with a tutor to learn some maybe test taking strategies, test preparation skills, etc. So our focus, the tutoring focus is really, again, on a wide range of topics, and it really depends on the student and what the student and parent have identified as their areas of focus or areas of need. So I mentioned before that a typical 60-minute tutoring session, that is typically how long a tutoring session is. And I mentioned that I would kind of go through what that looks like. So at the beginning of every session, the tutor always reviews with the student what their tutoring goal is. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how those goals are developed, but ultimately, it is a goal that is developed between the parent, the student, and the tutor. And the reason why we feel it's extremely important for students to have their goals outlined or a goal outlined is because that's the only way that we can truly measure progress. I always tell parents, and whenever I'm talking about our Tutor Pro service, that our overarching goal for every single student that we serve is that, and this is going to sound kind of funny, is that either you fire us or we fire you. And what I mean by that is your student doesn't need us anymore. That is our overarching goal for every single time we meet with a child, is we want them to move forward to the point where they don't need a tutor anymore. Tutoring should not be something that we sign up for 10 years for our students. What it should be is we're focused, we're moving the student forward, and now, I just tapped the screen, and now they're ready to move on independently. So, all to say, we review their goals, their individual goals at the beginning of the session, and then the tutor typically will do a warm-up or a review of what was covered in the prior session. So we don't want the student to forget about what has already been covered, but merely keep it fresh, keep it reviewed. And then we move on to, all right, what is our focus for today's session? Is there direct instruction that needs to happen? A review of something? What kind of support are we doing today? What are we working on? Within the context of the 60 minutes, I always have parents ask or have concern over a 60-minute tutoring session, especially for students who are younger. And I will say this, the first few sessions with the tutor really gauges the attention span of the student, meaning how long are they really sustaining attention and really working with me? And then when do I kind of lose them? And what the tutor will then do is sort of implement these very purposeful breaks with the student so that the student kind of gets a minute to step back, regroup, take a little bit of a brain break, and then come back. These breaks are not an end to learning. And I always get that question, well, if they're taking a 2 to 3 minute break every 10 minutes, isn't that when tutoring ceases? And my answer is always no. Most of the time, those breaks, the student is still learning. They don't realize they are, but they're doing something, like they're maybe moving their body. A great example of that, I have one tutor who plays catch with their student during their breaks. They love to throw a ball back and forth. And what she'll do is she'll do math facts. So she'll do quick multiplication facts with the student while they're throwing the ball back and forth. And it's fun. The student likes doing it, but they're still getting a break because they're moving around and they have some sort of movement that's incorporated. I've also seen tutors do spelling activities. I've seen them do spelling hopscotch on the floor. I've seen them do vocabulary reviews while they're moving and talking. So again, these breaks are very purposeful, and they're not just a time where the student's just sitting or walking around doing, nothing. I hate to say that, but nothing. The final part of our 60-minute tutoring session includes a ticket out. So at the end of every single session, the tutor and the student are going to go back up to that tutoring goal and say, okay, what did we accomplish today? Did we make progress in toward achieving our goal? If we did, fantastic. What's our plan for the next session? If we didn't, what do we need to do next time? What are some of the things that you're still having a hard time with it? Maybe we should focus on a little bit more for the next session. I love the ticket outs because it's really good data that we can report back to parents and say, this is the progression. This is what it's looking like. And these are all of the things that we've been working on during the tutoring sessions. It's just one way that we collect information to give back to you. And I'll talk a little bit more about progress reporting to you in a moment. So far, is there any questions? Or are there any? Okay, good. So in this part of the presentation, what I like to do is give you some of the questions that I'm frequently asked by parents when they're looking for tutors. And this might help you as well if you're looking at different tutoring services. They're just nice questions to have in your back pocket to ask. So I'm going to show you the questions and then give you the Tutor Pro responses, okay? The first question I'm often asked are, what are the tutors' qualifications? And I kind of answered that a little bit, but I'll go into a little more detail. And then also, what is this training that the tutors completed? What are you talking about when they say that they have to go through training? So as I said, all of our Eton Tutor Pros have expertise in the subject or learning skill areas that they're tutoring in. And what I mean by that is when a tutor applies to become a Tutor Pro, I ensure that whatever subject they say they're confident in tutoring in, they have at least taught that subject for multiple years and they have a lot of experience in it. This is known, it becomes their area of expertise. So when I am determining when a tutor is going to work with a student, that is how I determine how to match them together. I don't just pick a tutor out of the air who is available. If a parent comes to me and says, I'm really looking for a math tutor for my son, I'm going to look at my math tutors specifically and actually look even deeper into that. If someone's saying, well, I really need them to help with Algebra 2, I want to make sure that the tutor has taught Algebra 2 and is an expert in that area. That's how I go about matching tutors with the students. I also did mention the training that the tutor has to complete. When a Tutor Pro is hired in, they have to complete specialized training through us. And that training really teaches specific teaching methodologies that are included within our Eton approach at Eton. We talk about reading and writing acquisition, brain-based learning. We talk a lot about the brain because it's really, obviously that's what we work with as teachers and educators. So we really go deep into the brain, how it works, and how we can best meet our students' needs. We also talk about learning skills and math comprehension. The average Tutor Pro tutor, when they first start tutoring for us, has already had 15 hours of Eton training. They have to complete the 15 hours before they work with any student. So, and then that training actually continues. So it's not something that's a one and done training. We continuously have trainings after that, just to build on our community, our Tutor Pros community, so that they can learn from each other and to build on the information that they have. The other question I always get is, well, where does tutoring take place? And this is, I think, the number one question that I have been receiving for the past, since March 15th, is, well, where is your tutoring taking place? All of our Tutor Pro services were conducted at Eton. And it's within our Center for Teaching and Learning. If you've been in our building, our Center for Teaching and Learning is a very, very large space that houses multiple tables and some side rooms. And that's where all of our students are tutored at. That being said, since COVID-19, we have gone 100% to virtual tutoring. So currently, we are using a variety of platforms. I have tutors that meet with students via Google Meet, Zoom, Skype. Those are just a few of the platforms that we've been using. It's very interesting. I actually had a parent ask, do you know how successful they've been? You know, how have parents been receiving them? How have students been receiving? I have to say that every parent that I've called, I've reached out to all of my Tutor Pros parents and just said, how's it going? They love the virtual tutoring because they don't have to leave their home. They also can monitor a little bit because they can hear what's going on, so they can see their students' part in it for some students. But for the most part, I would say 99% of parents have been very, very pleased with the virtual platform, just using virtual tutoring, because it's made life a little bit easier, that they don't have to go anywhere, and there's no anxiety, there's no person-to-person contact just yet, because of what's going on in our world. Questions about that?
No.
Okay. So how are students matched with tutors? I spoke about this briefly a couple of minutes ago, but really the very first step in enrolling with our Tutor Pro service is that I ask parents to complete an online parent questionnaire. In a few slides, I will show you how to access that parent questionnaire, and I'll also email you with those instructions after this, but it's on our Eton website under our Tutor Pros link. And the reason we have parents complete this questionnaire is really so that we get a better idea or better sense of what you would like the tutoring to focus on. And again, who is going to be best matched. So we take all of that information and I make that match based on what you provide. And then also your goal. So in the parent questionnaire, it's going to ask you, what's your goal for tutoring? What is your hope at the end of all of this? What was the outcome that you would expect? And I take all of that and pair a tutor up based on your responses. Once I receive the parent questionnaire, when you hit submit, that questionnaire goes directly to me. And once I receive the questionnaire, typically I call you and we have a follow-up conversation. That's just for me to gain clarity on any questions I might have on your questionnaire, or to give you the opportunity to share with me if there's something that was not put down on the questionnaire, maybe you'd like to add a little bit of information. It's just for clarity, that conversation. And then once that conversation takes place, I reach out to the tutor that I have in mind that I think would be the best match. Once I do that and the tutor verifies that they can indeed tutor, they then reach out to you and set up the day and the time for tutoring. It's a pretty nice process. We just want to make sure that all of our students are matched with tutors who really can attend to their needs. And that's why the process is the way it is. So progress, how is progress measured? I think that this is the most important piece to tutoring is, okay, well, how do I know how my student is even doing? And I keep speaking about these goals that your student will have. Every single Tutor Pro student has a goal or goals that they're working toward achieving. Most students have between 1 and 3 goals that they work on during their tutoring sessions. Anywhere from reading comprehension goals to organization and time management goals to homework completion goals. There's a wide range of what they are. During each session, the Tutor Pro is assessing the student progress within the goal areas. And the reason why I think this is so important is that if it's necessary to modify the goal or update the goal, it's going to happen. We want to make sure that if a goal is either achieved, that we're moving on to either the next step, whether that's another goal or whether that's reaching out to you and saying, they have this, they are independent, they can do this. We have faith that they can do this on their own. Or if the goal that's been set seems to be a little bit, there might be some little goals that need to be achieved before getting to the larger goal, we'll modify it a little bit. The thing that we want to happen with our students is that they feel success in every single session. So we want to make sure that the goals that we set are achievable and that they're achievable at somewhat of a fast rate. We want to have the yes, that you did it. And then, okay, what's our next step? What's the next step in the bigger goal? We want to have these celebrations and during every single session that there have been successes and we celebrate those so that the student feels confident and their confidence grows in every single session. The way that we assess goal progress is going to differ based upon the goals that are set. Every tutor has different ways of assessing, but I will say this. Their way or their mode of assessing is going to be communicated to you through progress reports that are sent home. And I'm going to talk about that right now. So what are these progress reports? So the type of communication, how we communicate to you about your students' progress is actually twofold. The first are informal updates. When we were conducting our Tutor Pro sessions at Eton, typically, if a parent came to pick up their student, there would be just a real quick informal, yep, today's session was great. We worked on blah, blah, blah. Now, obviously, that's a little bit different because it's virtual. But I had reached out to my tutors and I said, okay, how are these informal conversations taking place? And many of them said they're either shooting a quick email at the end of a session to just update parents on what was worked on. Their phone conversations. They have had, the parent sometimes gets on right after the session and just pops on the screen and says, okay, thanks so much. What happened today? So those informal updates are still occurring even using the virtual platforms. The second mode of progress updating is a written progress report. So every 4 to 6 weeks, in the summer months, I will say we have 2 progress report updates that are sent home, and they're at the 4-week mark during our summer session. They're sent home via email, and what those progress reports do is outline what the goal or goals are, and then what has been worked on, what has been achieved, and what will continue to be worked on. Or if the goal has been achieved, congratulating the student on a successful achievement of their goal and moving on. Any questions about progress reports, reporting, assessments, anything like that? Okay. Any additional questions globally about our Tutor Pro service?
Cost.
What is the cost of the service?
Okay, the cost of the service for an Eton student, it is, if it's for an Eton student, it is $60. For a non-Eton student, it is $70.
Okay.
What does that mean? I'm sorry. What is the Eton student and a non-Eton student? What do you mean by that?
An Eton student is a student who is currently enrolled or enrolling in our Eton Day program. So
Okay.
a student who is a part of our school.
And that's $60 per session for each hour?
Per hour.
Okay.
And for being registered as an Eton student, is there? I'm assuming there's an additional cost to it, correct?
Admissions cost for our school?
Yeah.
There is. Yes, there is an admissions cost for our school. And the reason why I'm pausing, the admissions cost differ based on the division. I would be more than happy to put you in touch with our admissions director, and she can talk to you a little bit more about that if you would like.
Right. So $60 for an Eton student, and did you say $90?
No, $70.
$70 for a non. Okay. Per
Yes.
hour.
Per hour. And I hope I was clear on that. Any other questions?
No.
I don't
Okay,
think so.
so how to get started. Once again, I said that very first thing we tell parents that would be helpful is to fill out that parent questionnaire. The questionnaire can be found on our Eton Academy website under tutoring and the Learning Center link. You will find parent questionnaire. Again, once you hit submit on that questionnaire, it comes directly to me, nobody else. And what I do is when I receive the completed questionnaire, I reach out to you to learn more about you, your students' tutoring needs, and the days and times that really work best for you. That's a question that's on the questionnaire, but I always like to verify that before I reach out to the tutor. And that's it. That's as simple as that. I then reach out to the tutor. I typically tell parents that they can expect to hear from the tutor between 24 and 48 hours from our conversation. It's a fast process, and that's that. I have parents that are calling right now to set up summer tutoring. I always have the question, is there a deadline for the summer session of tutoring? And the answer is no. We're a rolling tutoring service 12 months out of the year. So tutoring takes place 12 months, 7 days a week. I also always have the question about tutoring during holidays. So I have tutors that tutor through spring break, especially, I always say spring break because that's typically the time right before ACT or SAT testing. And a lot of students want to get really ready for those tests. So I have tutors that work during that time period. I have tutors that will work during winter break. It really depends on the tutor and their schedule, but we are most definitely a 12-month-a-year service, which is great. The other thing I did not say, and I would like to bring up, I always get the question, is that the same tutor that my child will see every single time they need, or is it going to be a different tutor each time, or do they switch in the summer? The answer to that is when I match your child up with a tutor, that is the tutor. That is their tutor. The majority of my tutors stay on 12 months a year. So I have a few that do not. The ones that don't, or the ones that maybe have summer plans that come up unexpectedly, I always say, talk to the parent. And what we do is we ensure that there's overlap of the tutor who's taking over and the tutor who's kind of phasing out. So they tutor together, just to make sure that there is no loss of learning, that the tutor coming in really has a solid understanding of what the goal is and what has been worked on. And honestly, for those that have actually experienced, I have not had a problem. I haven't had a problem with that. It doesn't happen very often, but when it has, it's been quite successful.
How many sessions typically are involved, say over the summer for a student in a particular, let's say one student, one subject over the summer or one area, how many sessions would they typically engage in as a tutor?
I'm glad you asked that. I did not mention there's not a minimum or maximum number of sessions that you have to commit to. So that's a good question, number one. I will say this, in the summer months, the majority of students do more sessions just because they can. There's more time.
Sure.
Students typically come 2 to 3 times a week in the summer, whereas in the school year, it's a little bit less than that just because of everything else that goes on during the school year. But I would say the average is twice a week.
Now, I haven't, this is an interesting question for me because the Eton method is, if someone is a student, okay, and this goes to people who are students, aren't they getting this type of training outside of the summer months, obviously, while they're in the normal school year with Eton?
Which is why I would say 97 or 98% of our students that go through Tutor Pros are non-Eton students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
So
I will say
right.
this.
Kind of
I
like a
will say
part-time
this.
Eton student, right? Yeah. Okay.
The summer
almost like a
months-
supplement. Yeah.
Yeah, it really isn't. The students that we have that are Eton students, our day program should be addressing every single thing.
Mm.
And I'm actually going to speak to you as a parent of an Eton student.
Gotcha.
My son went through our Tutor Pros program prior to being an Eton student. Once he became an Eton student, he did not go through Tutor Pros anymore. Everything is going to be addressed in the day program.
Right.
Without question, that and then some. And in our Tutor Pro service is not, it's not our day program. We don't advertise it as our day program. That's not what we are. If you want the Eton approach, the Eton everything, that's our day program. We are designed to help students move forward in that traditional tutoring model.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, it does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
And I will say this, and this is parent perspective. We went through tutoring for a while with my son. He made progress. What he did at Eton blows it out of the water. The progress he made in like 4 weeks at Eton, I still tear up thinking about it because it was an incredible program for him.
Wow.
Well, and a lot of that goes to the level of challenge that the child is facing. I mean,
Mm-hmm. And I will say this, my son's transitioning out. He's going into 9th grade this year. He just completed his 3rd year at Eton and transitioning back to public high school, confidently transitioning back to public high school. I can't believe what he did during this time of remote learning. My husband and I look at each other and are still in awe of what he did independently. He has it, he's got it. And I don't think I could say that 3 years ago.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all for joining me today. If you do have questions, I know that you filled out information to participate in today. I will send you these slides so that you can take a look at them. And you also have my contact information on there. And you can contact me anytime if you do have questions. You can email, call. I'm always here. Thank you.